The partner meeting started at 9 a.m. sharp. Sarah Chen, 7 months pregnant and showing, walked into the glass-walled conference room carrying her laptop and a bottle of water. She was 3 minutes early, professional as always. By 9:07, she'd been told her clients were being temporarily redistributed because she was too pregnant to travel, and they needed someone who could be more available. By 9:45, she'd cleaned out her desk. By 11:30, she was signing an offer letter at the firm across the street. And by 5 p.m. that same day, the first client called her old firm asking why Sarah was no longer on their account and if Sarah wasn't managing them anymore. They'd like to terminate their contract. Then the second client called. Then the third. By the end of the week, $89 million in annual billings had walked out the door. And the partner who said Sarah was too pregnant to travel was explaining to the managing board why their Q2 revenue just collapsed. Hey Tangled Yarns family, it's Brett, and if you're new here, welcome to what might be the most satisfying pregnancy discrimination karma story I've ever covered. Today's story is about Sarah, a senior consultant at a top-tier management consulting firm who spent 8 years building relationships with some of the biggest clients in healthcare and pharmaceuticals. We're talking Fortune 500 companies, multi-year contracts. The kind of clients who don't just hire consultants, they hire specific people they trust. And when Sarah's firm decided her pregnancy made her a liability instead of celebrating her as the revenue powerhouse she was, she taught them an expensive lesson about the difference between client contracts and client relationships. Because here's the thing, the contracts were with the firm, but the relationships, those were with Sarah. Let's untangle this. Sarah Chen joined Hartwell & Associates in 2016, fresh off her MBA from Northwestern. Hartwell was a mid-sized consulting firm specializing in healthcare operations, helping hospital systems optimize workflows, pharmaceutical companies streamline clinical trials, medical device manufacturers improve supply chains. Prestigious work, demanding clients. The kind of place where you bill 60 hours a week and pray you make partner by 35. Sarah started as an associate, did the grunt work, built the PowerPoint decks, ran the data analysis, sat in the back of client meetings and took notes. But she was good, really good. She had this way of breaking down complex operational problems into simple, actionable strategies. She didn't just deliver reports, she delivered results. And clients noticed. By year 3, she was leading projects. By year 5, she was the primary relationship manager for 3 major accounts. By year 7, she'd brought in $67 million in new business and had a client roster that read like a healthcare industry who's who. She made senior consultant in 2022, not quite partner, but close. Her compensation was around $240,000 base plus bonuses tied to her billings, and her billings were exceptional. She managed 11 active client relationships. Healthcare systems, pharmaceutical companies, biotech firms. Her accounts generated $89 million in annual revenue for Hartwell. To put that in perspective, the firm's total annual revenue was about $340 million. Sarah personally controlled more than 25% of it. But here's what made Sarah truly valuable. Her clients weren't loyal to Hartwell. They were loyal to her. When you're a hospital CFO trying to cut $40 million from your operating budget without compromising patient care, you don't trust a firm, you trust a person. Someone who answers your calls, who understands your constraints, who's been in the trenches with you for years. Sarah was that person for 11 different organizations. She knew their pain points, their internal politics, their goals. She'd been in their boardrooms, met their teams, solved their crises. And in consulting, that kind of relationship is everything. Hartwell knew this. They valued Sarah, promoted her, gave her flexibility when she needed it. They weren't stupid. Until new leadership arrived. In January 2024, Hartwell merged with a larger firm out of New York. Part of the deal brought in new senior partners, including Gerald Whitmore, who took over as head of the healthcare practice. Gerald was old school. 30 years in consulting. The kind of guy who believed FaceTime mattered more than results. Who thought commitment to the firm meant being in the office until 8 p.m. even if your work was done at 4. And who had very specific ideas about what a senior consultant should look like. In March, Sarah told HR she was pregnant. Due in June, she'd keep working as long as she felt able, then take the standard 12-week maternity leave. HR congratulated her. Her immediate team threw her a little celebration. Everything seemed fine. Then Gerald called her into his office. She was about 4 months along at that point. Starting to show, but still traveling to client sites, still running meetings, still closing deals. Gerald gestured to the chair. She sat. Sarah, Congratulations on the pregnancy. That's wonderful news. Thank you. I wanted to talk to you about your client load. Given your condition, I think it makes sense to start transitioning some of your accounts to other consultants. Just temporarily while you're on leave. Sarah kept her expression neutral. I appreciate the thought, but I've already worked out coverage plans with my team. Jennifer and Mark are familiar with most of my accounts. They'll handle day-to-day during my leave, and I'll be available for critical issues. Gerald smiled. The kind of smile that doesn't reach the eyes. I think you're underestimating the demands of your clients. These are major accounts. They need someone who can travel on short notice, be on site when issues arise. You're what, 4 months pregnant? 17 weeks. Right. So in another couple months, you're not going to be able to fly. You're going to need to be close to your doctor. I'm just being realistic here. Gerald, I'm pregnant, not incapacitated. My doctor has cleared me to travel through my second trimester, and most of my clients are within driving distance anyway. Sarah, his tone shifted. Patronizing now. I've seen this before. Women in your position always think they can handle everything, and then reality hits. You're going to be too pregnant to travel. Too tired to keep up. And our clients deserve consistency. She took a slow breath. Are you redistributing my accounts? Temporarily. While you're on leave. It's standard practice. It's not standard practice. I've seen 3 other consultants go on parental leave in the last 2 years. None of them had their clients reassigned before they left. None of them were managing $89 million in billings. And there it was. This wasn't about her pregnancy. This was about Gerald wanting control of her book of business. Sarah stood up. I'd like this decision in writing, please. Including the justification and the timeline for reassignment. Gerald's smile faded. That won't be necessary. This is an internal operational matter. Then I'll be escalating to HR and the managing board. Because what you're describing sounds a lot like pregnancy discrimination, and I'd like it documented. His face hardened. Sarah, I'd be very careful about making accusations. You're a valued consultant, but you're not a partner. Your clients are firm assets, and we'll allocate them as we see fit. She didn't respond, just walked out. Let me stop here for a second because I want you to feel the absolute audacity of what just happened. Sarah had built these relationships over 8 years. She brought in the business. She managed the accounts. She generated the revenue. And Gerald, who'd been at the firm for all of 3 months, just told her that her clients were firm assets, and she was too pregnant to keep doing her job. Not based on performance, not based on client complaints. Based on his assumption that pregnant women can't handle demanding work. That's not management. That's discrimination. And Sarah knew it. She went straight to HR, filed a formal complaint, cited the Pregnancy Discrimination Act, requested that her accounts remain under her management until she went on leave. HR opened an investigation, said they'd review the matter, asked her to be patient. Meanwhile, Gerald moved forward with the reassignments anyway. He sent an email to Sarah's team announcing that her accounts were being temporarily redistributed to ensure continuity of service during her upcoming leave. He assigned her 3 biggest clients to himself, gave the rest to 2 other senior consultants. Sarah got the email at 4:47 p.m. on a Friday. She read it 3 times. Then she opened LinkedIn, updated her profile to Open to Opportunities, and started making calls. By Monday morning, she had a meeting scheduled with Patterson Consulting Group, Hartwell's biggest competitor. The firm literally across the street. Patterson had been trying to recruit Sarah for 2 years. They knew her reputation, knew her client relationships, knew she was the kind of consultant who could walk into their firm and immediately add value. She met with their managing partner, a woman named Diane Mercer, on Tuesday at 7 a.m. Diane didn't waste time. Sarah, we've wanted you here for a long time. Tell me what happened. Sarah laid it out. The pregnancy, Gerald's comments, the account reassignments, the HR complaint going nowhere. Diane listened, took notes, then asked one question. If you came here, would your clients follow you? Sarah thought about it. Most of them, yes. These are relationships I've built over years. They trust me personally. And your non-compete? I reviewed my contract last night. There's a non-solicit clause that prevents me from actively recruiting Hartwell clients for 12 months. But if clients choose to leave on their own and seek me out, that's not a violation. Dan smiled. Sarah, I'm going to make you an offer. Senior Director of Healthcare Strategy, $280,000 base. Performance bonuses tied to client retention and new business. Full benefits including 16 weeks paid parental leave. And a signing bonus to make up for what you're walking away from. When do you need an answer? When can you start? Sarah started at Patterson the following Monday. She didn't send a mass email to her clients, didn't post on LinkedIn, didn't make a single call. She just quietly updated her email signature and her business cards, and then she waited. Because here's what Gerald didn't understand. Sarah's clients weren't just names on a contract. They were people she worked with for years, people who had her cell phone number, who texted her on weekends, who trusted her judgment. And when those people heard Sarah was no longer on their accounts at Hartwell, they called her. The first call came on Tuesday. CFO of a major hospital system in Chicago, one of Sarah's oldest clients. Sarah, I just got an email from someone named Gerald saying he's taking over our account. What's going on? I'm no longer with Hartwell. I've moved to Patterson Consulting Group. Silence. Are you still going to be working in healthcare? Yes. Same focus. Same work. Can you still work with us? If you choose to engage Patterson, absolutely. Let me make some calls. 2 days later, that hospital system sent a termination notice to Hartwell and signed a new contract with Patterson. $8.2 million in annual billings. Gone. Then the second client called. A pharmaceutical company in Boston. Same conversation. 3 days later, another termination notice. $12.4 million. Gone. Then the third. Then the fourth. By the end of week 2, 6 of Sarah's 11 clients had terminated their contracts with Hartwell and moved to Patterson. By the end of week 4, that number was 9. Total annual billings lost. $71 million. Gerald was in full panic mode. He called emergency meetings, demanded to know why clients were leaving, tried to salvage relationships by offering discounts, bringing in senior partners, promising better service. It didn't matter. The clients didn't want Hartwell. They wanted Sarah. One client, a biotech firm in San Diego, told Gerald directly, "We hired Sarah Chen, not your firm. If Sarah's not managing our account, we're not interested." The managing board called Gerald in, asked him to explain how the firm had lost $71 million in revenue in 4 weeks. Gerald blamed Sarah, said she'd violated her non-solicit agreement, said she'd sabotaged the firm. The board pulled her HR complaint, read Gerald's emails, reviewed the timeline. Then they called their outside counsel. The lawyer's opinion was clear. Sarah hadn't violated anything. She hadn't solicited clients, hadn't badmouthed the firm. Clients had left voluntarily because they preferred working with her. And the pregnancy discrimination complaint. That was a potential lawsuit waiting to happen. Especially now that the firm had lost tens of millions in revenue immediately after pushing out a pregnant senior consultant who'd filed a discrimination complaint. The optics were catastrophic. The board held another meeting. This time without Gerald. They discussed damage control, considered reaching out to Sarah, talked about settlements. But Sarah wasn't interested in settlements. She was busy onboarding her new clients at Patterson, building out her team, planning projects. And she was thriving. Patterson gave her everything Hartwell hadn't: respect, flexibility, a leadership team that saw her pregnancy as a normal life event, not a liability. She worked from home when she needed to, traveled when she felt able, took meetings over video when she didn't. Her clients didn't care. They cared about results. And Sarah delivered. By the time she went on maternity leave in June, she'd brought $71 million in existing business to Patterson and closed 2 new clients worth another $18 million. Patterson's healthcare practice grew 40% in 6 months. Sarah became the fastest promoted senior director in the firm's history. And when she came back from leave in September, they made her a partner. Meanwhile, Hartwell was in crisis. They lost a quarter of their revenue. Their healthcare practice was gutted. Clients were wary. Morale was in the toilet. Gerald was quietly asked to resign in August. The official story was that he was pursuing other opportunities. The real story was that the board had seen the legal risk and the financial damage and decided he was a liability they couldn't afford. Hartwell tried to rebuild, hired new consultants, pitched aggressively for new business. But in consulting, reputation is everything. And word had gotten around about what happened to Sarah. By early 2025, 2 more senior consultants had left Hartwell for Patterson, both women. Both citing concerns about the firm's culture. Hartwell's revenue dropped another 15%. In May 2025, they were acquired by a larger firm at a significant discount. The healthcare practice was essentially dissolved. Sarah, by then, was managing a 30-person team at Patterson. Her book of business had grown to $120 million. Her equity stake in the firm was worth over $3 million. And in June 2025, exactly 1 year after she'd been told she was too pregnant to travel, she was on a plane to Geneva, closing a $40 million deal with an international pharmaceutical company. Her daughter, Emma, was with her grandmother back home. Sarah sent a photo from the client dinner to her team with the caption, "Turns out I can still travel." One of her colleagues replied, "Did you ever doubt it?" Sarah's response, "No, but Gerald did." Let's talk about what actually happened here, because this story is about way more than pregnancy discrimination. Though let's be clear, that's exactly what it was. This is about the fundamental misunderstanding of where value lives in professional services. Gerald thought value lived in the firm, in the brand, in the contracts. But value lived in Sarah, in her relationships, in her expertise, in the trust she'd built with clients over nearly a decade. When you tell someone like that they're a liability because of a temporary physical condition, you're not protecting the firm. You're destroying it, because clients don't hire firms. They hire people. And when those people leave, the clients leave too. Gerald learned that lesson at a cost of $71 million. And here's the thing that really gets me. This was completely avoidable. If Hartwell had just supported Sarah, trusted her to manage her own workload, let her take her leave and come back when she was ready, they still have her. They still have her clients. They still be a viable firm. Instead, they let bias and short-term thinking destroy a quarter of their revenue. That's not just discrimination. That's catastrophically bad business. Alright, Tangled Yarns family, I need to hear from you. Have you ever had your abilities questioned because of pregnancy, a medical condition, or any other personal situation that had nothing to do with your actual performance? Or have you seen a company lose a key employee and then watched their clients or business walk out the door right behind them? Drop your stories below. Some of you have lived through things that would make incredible episodes. If this story resonated, hit that like button. Subscribe if you haven't, because we've got new stories every single day. And remember, if someone tells you you're too pregnant or too anything to do your job while you're actively excelling at it, they're really telling you they don't value you. And that's your sign to find someone who does. I'm Brett. This is Tangled Yarns, and that yarn? Officially untangled. See you tomorrow.